Okay, give us 2 more minutes and then we can begin. Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us on this busy AfriFOODlinks Friday. Though I recognize that it's a holiday for a number of people in the north, so we're recording both in English and French, and we'll share the recording afterwards. But we designed today very much as a conversational space, so we booked a decent chunk of time for really getting into questions, but that's not, we don't have to fill the time if everything is making some good sense. So I know that Rochelle recorded some guidance on the reporting requirements, and we sent that about a month ago, and has received some questions which she'll start with. But yeah, any questions that emerge here, please do feel free to ask them. And yeah, let's get comfortable with what we have to do to report well for this project. So thanks so much for joining, and yeah, over to you, Rochelle.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us. So I have received a few questions regarding AfriFOODlinks, and those are the ones that I want to address first. And after I'm done, I'll open the floor for more questions. So one of the questions that I was asked is the persons per month, like what does it stand for? So the persons per month is, the PM stands for persons per month, and it's equivalent to 143.33 hours. We'll take the total amount of hours worked of all of our staff and divide it by that, and that will give us the persons per month per work package. That brings me to something else. I just wanted to know if everybody received the AfriFOODlinks template and timesheets, because this is very important requirement from the EU that it has to be completed. The timesheets have to be completed the way we drew it up. So if anybody hasn't received it, you can just put it in the chats for me, please. And then we'll get back to you on that.
And for those listening to the recording, you can send an email to Rochelle if you haven't received it, and we'll get back to you.
Yes, please. But there was also another question about what costs are covered under indirect costs. So indirect costs, we work out at 25%, and that will cover the rent, rates, stationery, telephone, anything that operational costs for the staff that is working on the project. So we don't need to have any evidence of that reported to us or reported to the EU. That is entirely, the cost that you cover with that is entirely up to you. There are other, questions. Sorry. On other costs, there was a question about what costs are covered in this budget line. So this budget line covers venue, IT, publishing, imaging, maps, translation, and catering and audits. Not every organization has got to do an internal audit. It is for organizations that are exceeding 375,000 euros. But all of us will need to keep our documentation in order for 5 years, as the EU can choose at random what partner that they would like to audit within those 5 years after the project has concluded. So that is very important, please. The operational costs that the overhead also covered is also as to cover your bank charges, as we can't enter that in as an expense on the project. So our project started on the 1st of December and ends on the last day of November 2026. So it started on the 1st of December 2022 to November 2026. And we're in our first period now. So this period ends May 2024. The portal opens the day after this period ends. So the portal will open and we'll send out dates prior to that, a month prior to the portal opening. We'll send out dates so that everybody knows when the finance reporting will happen and when the technical reports part of the project will be happening. So we'll send that dates closer to the time next year. So the first template that we sent out, the finance template, only covers the first 18 months. We will send out a new one to cover the next 18 months and the following 12 months. We are required that by the 15th of June, so that will be next month, that each organization send us an interim report so that we can check that everybody is reporting properly and that it's the proper rates that are being used, so that we have no issues in the future. So please bear in mind the 15th of June. You can send it to me via email. That will be fine. We'll check it and then we'll get back to you on if everything was in order or if there's things that you guys will need to change. Another question was about subcontracting. So if you had no budget in your subcontracting lines and you want to move budget to that, you will need to have an amendment done. So budget can't just be moved into categories that didn't have anything in it that had zero. You'll need to get in contact with us and we'll get in contact with the EU and we'll have to have an amendment for budget to be moved to no cost categories, basically. And for subcontracting, you will need to follow all of the requirements that you will need to hire a subcontract. So that will be your terms of reference, your scoring sheets, your proposals, your quotes, your service level agreements, your proof of payments and invoices, curriculum vitae, and for the winning bids. And all the terms of the SLA should be followed according to the payment schedule. Also, something that the EU told us in our last training was partners cannot be used as subcontractors. So, equally, for instance, we can't use WISE as a subcontractor. We'll have that's not allowed.
Can I add to this?
Yeah.
I think this is really, really important. So if you would like to move funds across, if you'd like to move funds around different line items and fund types, the EC needs to know about it beforehand. In some cases, it's just about informing them. But as Rochelle says, where there's no funds in the line, we have to do an amendment. So if there's a need at the moment for any partners who see that they want to move these resources, please do send us a mail next week, because we are planning to submit some requests to the EC, and we want to put all of these requests together and do them at once so that it doesn't have a lot of administrative back and forth. So if there are specific needs that you see, please send us an email with them, and they all have to have a motivation as to why. We need to motivate to the EC about why this is in the best interests of the project. And then, yes, the point on subcontracts having to follow a very precise process. Those details are in the grant agreement, but check in with us if you need guidance on that as well.
Thank you, Paul. So that is the majority of the questions that I received. So the floor is open for any other questions.
Good, please
Yes.
proceed.
Hello, hello. I was wondering what the standard is for retaining original documents, given that so many of the documents for things like travel and so on are digital. Boarding passes, electronic, and so on. So what is the requirement there? And, for example, if an organization is largely paperless and they're scanning original receipts and so on, can you please fill us in on what meets the standard for the project?
Okay, so whether it is digital or original documentation, the digital stuff will still be seen as original. So it still needs to be printed and then filed. So they haven't actually...
Printing digital copies is the original.
That's fine. That's fine.
No, it's not about fine. Is it necessary? That's the question.
I don't know.
We're trying to go the other way. We're trying to go from
say,
hard copy to digital. So to have to create hard copies is new and expensive for us. But if it's necessary, we need to build that into our process.
The EU says according to your organization's accounting practices. So if your accounting practice is that you keep everything in a digital file, that's fine. But here at ICLEI Africa, we do have both. We have digital and printed files. Thank you.
So to Kurt's point, whatever your practice is, as long as it's consistent, that's fine.
Yes.
Hi, good morning.
Hello.
Hi, I had a quick question. In terms of reporting, is the EU specific on what exchange rate we use for reporting? Is it based on the rate that the income was received, or on date of reporting? And also, what is their policy on investing the funding? Thanks.
Okay, so the first question about the rates. The rates, if you've received the template, you will see that we say in your currency. So if you are changing, like with us, we're changing from rand to euro, there is a link on top that we have to go into in order to get the rate. So the exchange rate would be from the 1st of December 2022 to the last day of the month that you're working on. So we're in the middle of May now, so our last day would have been the 30th of April. So it will show from the 1st of December to the 30th of April, and it will then give us an average rate. And that will be the exchange rate that we use. And this will be for the duration of this entire period of this project. So that will be for the next 18 months. We will always start with the 1st of December 2022 to the last day of the month that we are busy with. And so that exchange rate will change throughout the duration of this 18 months. And that will then in turn change our amounts for everything. This is a requirement that they require, and that's why we have it on the template on the top.
Okay, it's a bit insane, but anyway.
I know it's the first time we also doing it, but this is what they require, so we're just following the rules.
No problem, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, Rochelle,
fine.
thanks just to
Fine.
interrupt. Does that link, will you know how to action that? That link is useful to you. You know how to do that.
Right, yeah, perfect. I'll do that. Thanks. Sorry, and then on investing the funding we received, is there a specific policy that I could check?
The investment stuff, I am not too sure about investing the money. I'm not sure how that's going to work. But I'll check with our financial manager and I'll get back to you on that one.
Okay. Also, because of the fact that they're wanting us to use average exchange rates over a certain period, just to reduce risk on our side, it's always just maybe useful if we could invest the funding, because we're not using a fixed exchange rate for reporting. So we can't actually see if we are actually going to be losing out on funding if the rand strengthens.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, thanks. But you'll let me know.
Yes, definitely. I'll email you as soon as I have the answer.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thank you. Anna?
Yes, hello, good morning. Yes, question on the timesheets, the templates you shared. So we have to use that for the reporting to you also. You mentioned the interim that you will do an interim report. Yeah, so it's the reporting template plus the timesheets you also have to submit to you.
Yes, that's correct. So
okay.
Yeah.
It's
just so that we can check if everybody is doing it correctly, because we don't want the stuff to come up when it's time for the portal to open, and now I have to check everybody's stuff and we haven't checked it before. So
I see. Okay, I see. Yep, all good. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. We can definitely recognize the timesheets are very onerous, and so getting it right up front and making each of the project teams fill them in is the best way, just to ensure that it doesn't become something we have to look at later.
Yeah, we have our own internal system, but it's a bit different because it doesn't show the work packages. So we have to, we have our own that we use, but then that just that we're clear. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Larry?
Greetings, everyone. Thank you, Rachel. I have two questions, and forgive me if this has been spoken about or it was in a different forum, and maybe also Paul can react to it. It's about the budget, which is also related to the financial reporting. It concerns some of the partners that raised questions on some of the liable costs in regards to per diem, and whether this is something that they take care of it respectively, or the project takes care of it. So maybe that's one of it that you can just respond to. The second one is on what is allowable, especially concerning, I know there's a proposition in Kisumu on our next consortium meeting to have the work package 3 meeting, have a group dinner. And we were also wondering whether the group dinner is catered for in the budget, or is something that we'll have to share.
Okay, so the question about the DMs. So the DMs are covered without travel expenses. So if you had an amount there for traveling to, for example, now Kisumu, per diems should be covered within that budgeted amount that was given. Oh, yeah. The second question, I think it's more directed at Paul, I think.
Yeah, so I think acting creatively within the confines of budget is something we're all going to have to practice. My understanding is that there was budget allocated to a venue, and so you could use that budget line to cover the costs of that. So it would fit into that line. And the main thing is to ensure that, you know, this is, you're having a team dinner, but you will be discussing the project. And so that dinner place can be venue. That would be my proposition for how that gets covered in there. And then, you know, the idea is that when calculating per diems, there should be an acknowledgement of when is the project providing sustenance through other line items, and when does the organization need to. So for example, everyone's coming to Kisumu, the hotel rooms are typically a bed and breakfast style, so they're going to give you breakfast. The venue line item that we are paying for with the hotel will provide lunch. And indeed, we're also planning to have a consortium dinner. We're hoping that the governor of Kisumu might sponsor it for us, but otherwise it'll come out of the venue line item in the project. And so our sort of expectation is that in terms of sustenance needs from participants, they should be only dinners and a little bit of incidental in terms of potential travel, because the project is paying for breakfast and lunch. So ICLEI Africa, for example, has a South African Reserve Bank rated amount for what people receive as sustenance. And we do a calculation which then takes a percentage off for breakfast, a percentage off for lunch, and what the person receives is appropriate sustenance for then dinner. So we hope that that ethos is also applied across partners. So that's a long rambly way to just how we think about that. I think a team dinner as part of workshopping is easy to legitimate. Hilary, just to confirm that we answered your questions.
Yeah, this clarifies. Thank you.
Okay.
Ryan?
Thank you. We at AfriFOOD actually implement project at 2 regional offices in West Africa and in East Africa. In terms of reporting, of course, these 2 regions will make their own report by filling out the templates, of course. But in terms of reporting to you, do you want us to report it consolidated or can be by individual offices?
Sorry, I didn't hear the last part of the question. Sorry.
Okay. We recall to have implemented the project in 2 offices in West Africa, East Africa. Each region will create their own report in the template.
Okay.
When submitted to you, do you want it to be consolidated or can be each individual office can be reported?
No, it's fine. Yes, I think I got it now. So these are going to do 2 separate reports on the template. So it can be reported to us like that. That will be fine as long as we can see that it's coming from the same organization.
The second one, I have one more question. Because you mentioned, I watched the video and it mentioned that there will be a portal open during the reporting period. My question will be, who will be reporting to that portal? Is that ICLEI or the individual organization?
Okay, so every organization will be reporting to the portal. The portal opens for each of us. We get registered on there and each of us will report to the portal. And then after submission, it will then come to us, the coordinator. We will check that everything is on par, the way it's supposed to be, and then we'll get back to you And then we would submit everybody's report to the EU on the portal.
Thank you.
Thank you. Edith?
Thanks so much. There were two questions. So just, I suppose so in our instance, employment has been, the recruitment of the other researchers as part of this have been quite delayed. And I expect that we can just kind of lump time into the timesheets as that comes on. But is there a cutoff in that 18-month cycle for that period? So in that 18-month kind of period, and again, it might sound like a naive, a non-finance person question, but we've now gone 6 months almost, and that recruitment is only now taking place. So that person would be doing more percentage time in terms of person hours. They might not catch that up fully, and can we then carry some of that over? Does it cut off at that 18-month cycle, or can it extend? That's the one question. And then the other question is just, I know it's in the EU document, but I was wondering if we could, as a project, have the kind of selection criteria for the subcontractors as one of those working documents, that we interpreting that in the same way, if that's possible. I mean, we can draw it out of the EU. I've been going through some of those annexures, and they do kind of circle back a little bit. So if there is if there is something that we know that we're doing the right thing, we're not interpreting it our own way, or we all interpreting it in the same way. I suppose that's the question, is there solidarity in our collective kind of struggle through it? Yeah.
Okay, so I don't even remember the second question, but okay, the first one, the persons per month. So if the person is starting, let's say in May, so that is when you start your reporting and your timesheets, not your reporting, but the timesheet for that specific person will then start from May. And I really don't understand what you mean if there's a cut-off for the 18 months, because
I can take it.
Sorry, I don't even understand this myself. Sorry.
So I think there's a fear, for example, that, okay, well, we haven't brought someone on, we've received this money, and do we lose it after the 18 months? And the answer is no.
No.
So the way that the budget was developed and is input into the EC system hasn't attached the person months over time. It's attached them to work package.
The entire project.
And so because all of the work packages have a start and finish, which is pretty much from the beginning to the end of the project, then we can motivate that there are more intense periods, for example, at the end on this work package. So you won't lose money, nor will the allocation change. The 18 months is really a check-in point, firstly, to make sure that we are using the money appropriately and are delivering this project. But also, and I believe, and Rochelle can correct me, that if the majority of those funds has been spent, that is the trigger for a top-up by the EC. So it's not to say you lose the money if you haven't used it by the 18 months. The money is allocated on a work package basis to each of the organizations.
Paul is correct. And if we reach 90% spend, then we, as he said, we'll get a top-up.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know if I'm going to say. Yeah, there we go.
Hi. I apologize if my question is going to sound like I'm unprepared for this meeting. I want to admit I only saw when I went into the calendar that I was supposed to see the videos on YouTube. And it might be a repetitive question, but it's just still not clear to me. So, for example, the budget template that you send us, or the forecast that you sent us at the beginning, it indicated 22, which I'm assuming is the number of months. Or maybe I need to know what is the significance of 22, Because why it's confusing me is, as I'm hearing this is a 30-month project, right? So for example,
48-month
48,
project.
48.
yes. So for example, the allocation that we have for HR per month, is that for 48 months? And then also answering maybe to your question, Paul, which you probably have answered now, but maybe just need it explained in another way, is that in relation to the timesheets, there are some months where we'll be working less hours on the project, and there's some when we're working more. So how that allocated amount per month, then does it change? Or how do we do that in terms of budget reporting? I think that's where I'm getting a bit confused.
Rochelle, are you taking this?
No, that's fine.
Okay, so the budget that was sent to you is the total allocation for the project. And then there should have been an indication, and I think the first invoice that was paid out is the first, the upfront payment. Then there'll be the next payment that'll come through in the 18-month window, which is typically determined by how much is used up. And then there'll be the final payment at the end of the project. So that budget that's come to you is the allocation for the whole project. And so those resources need to be projected across the overall project. The work, the timesheet, ideally we want that to look to match actual time input. So in a month, if you don't do anything, it can be 0. And in a month where you do a lot of work, then it can be 100% time. And that all would take, that all uses up resources in the total allocation of the budget. Does that make sense?
It does. So when we are allocating it, I think what is maybe challenging is because, like, for example, at Oribi, we don't have specific people only working on the AfriFOODlinks. It's actually shared resources. So for example, let's say someone like Lucas, our finance admin person, this 1 month, they spent 2 hours. This 1 month, they spent 8 hours. When we allocate in terms of the financial reporting, do we use the hours to determine a rate and based on his salary? Or how do we split that budget allocated?
Okay, so the rate that you have to use should be his actual rates, and it should be the actual hours. So regardless of what the budget is, if he worked 2 hours, it has to be multiplied by his actual rate. And that will determine how much, how it gets reported in the personnel costs. Yeah, is there more to the question?
No, that's more clearer for me.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so I think using that and seeing who are the main people working on the project and using their rates to help do a rough projection. But then it's just, I mean, the consistent, we look at the budget in a very consistent manner just to see, are we still in line with our projections to make sure that we're not going to go into an overspend or an underspend situation. Are there any further questions, clarifications, concerns? Okay, Paolo has thrown into the chat. Sorry, the connection is bad. Do we have to submit costs justifying documents along with the interim financial report?
Okay, so yes. Yes, you will have to.
Yes, please.
Yes, please. Just because this is the first time that we'll be doing it for all the partners, we would just want to make sure that it is 100% the way it's supposed to be. We don't want anything to happen at the end of this, at the end of the 18 months when we have to go into the portal. Because as we all know by now, the EU has very, very strict rules and we're all just trying to feel our way through them. So yes, please, all documents would have to be submitted with the internet.
Any further questions that people want to raise? Concerns, things where you're not sure? Are there things missing from our side that we haven't sent? So I think we're looking forward to this interim reporting period, really just to get on the same page, view it as a trial. So please make sure that you've looked at all the materials and that your teams are aware of their responsibilities to help this reporting as well. And then Rochelle and I can get back on any queries that we have or issues we notice that can then be nice and clean for the official reporting come 18 months. So Gareth's put in link to the Oribi questions and our past funder instructions. Given that actual costs of employment for salaried staff might vary per job, would payslips be need to attached with the timesheets?
For the EU, of course, our employment contracts and our proof of payment and our salary slips would need to be kept for them. But for our purposes, no. When sending the report to us, just the timesheets, supporting documents, and then the template itself, the reporting template.
Great. So we don't need those.
No.
But they do need to be held in case the EC wants to audit or follow up. Is that right?
That's good.
Okay. I want to leave lots of space for people to fill it with questions. There are no stupid questions here. This stuff is a foreign language to me. So anything that can help clarify, we're very happy to answer. And if we don't have the answer, to check with the European Commission. So we'll give some more time here if needed, but anytime you have a query or a frustration and you just don't know how to report this thing, please send Rochelle a message and we'll do our best to support you. We want to make sure that this is as smooth as possible and that this is well received by the EC. So I'll leave some silence for 2 more minutes, but otherwise I think we can say ciao if there are no more questions or thoughts. For our French colleagues, haven't heard your voices at the moment. If there's anything on your side, feel free. I hope you've seen we've had interpretation in and haven't been shaking fists at us. Okay. Rochelle, is there anything that you want to say in closing or anything's on your mind? Otherwise,
I just want to say thank you to all the finance people and everybody that has made it to the Q&A. And please, if you haven't watched the video yet about the reporting, please do so, as well as the Libri, because the Libri covers everything that's going to be on the portal. So it's very important that we all at least know how the portal's going to work. And yeah, we're all learning together, I guess. And yeah, just thank you.
great. Thanks, Rochelle. Thanks everyone for joining. Gareth, I see your comment in, so we'll extract that point on subcontracting and just put those in steps for everyone to cross-reference. Okay. Thank you, everybody. See you if you're joining at 2 for our consortium meeting. Otherwise, enjoy the weekend.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.